Okay, tonight we're going to start a new paper. It's called The Life Carriers. It's paper 36. And that starts on page, go back over here, 396 in the original Urantia book. So let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. You know, it's funny. I listened to this paper that I did back in, I think it was 2014 or 15. And you know, I was saying the same prayer in 2014 as I say every night before I start. So I think I'll pray something a little different tonight. All right, just to mix things up a little bit. You know, 509 videos out on Vimeo about the Urantia book. I think I could come up with a different prayer every now and then. Okay, so let's try this again here. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. We thank you for this life. We thank you for this group. We thank you for those who listen to us out there in Facebook and YouTube and all the other things, Vimeo especially. And we thank you for those who come and listen and learn and open our hearts and minds that we might retain it. We give you the praise in your son, Michael, and our local universe mother spirit. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get started here. Gary, would you take that very first paragraph, the life carriers, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Life does not originate spontaneously. Life is constructed according to plans formulated by the unrevealed architects of beings and appears on the inhabited planets either by direct importation or as a result of the operations of the life carriers of the local universe. These carriers of life are among the most interesting and versatile of the diverse family of universe sons. They are entrusted with designing and carrying creature life to the planetary spheres, as after planting this life on such new hold on, I lost my place.
All right. Such new worlds.
Worlds, they remain there for long periods to foster its development.
Okay, I'm going to get in trouble with all the scientists again tonight. Okay. Transpermia. Have y'all ever heard that term?
You've mentioned it.
Transgender, is it?
No, transpermia. Transpermia is this theory by scientists that the life on the planets come from the meteors, basically from space, come down as meteors, fall into the oceans, and that's how life starts. Okay.
Oh.
I'm going to blow all their bubbles. It does not work that way. Okay. Any of the lice plasm that starts a planet would burn up in the atmosphere, okay, regardless of what kind of meteor it is, whether it was inside and it broke open or whatever. It does not work that way. First of all, you're taking away, even saying that from the architects of being. You see this first thing in this paragraph? I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit more than I did the first time I taught this. The unrevealed architects of being. You see that? They're called unrevealed because they don't tell us a lot about them, and they don't want to tell us a lot about them. But these are just like the architects of the master universe that plans everything. Okay, that's why they're called architects. So the architects of beings appear on the inhabited planets, and it's their plans that the life carriers go by to create life. Okay, so if you say that everything created is done by transpermia, you might as well say these guys don't exist, right? Because life would go from planet to planet to planet without any planning. Right? Okay.
Well,
so
yeah.
now that we've upset the apple cart, let's go on.
Wait.
All right,
Oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rodney.
I thought you meant go on and read more. You're going to explain more.
Yeah, I'm going to explain more. Right. states here that life on a planet gets here two ways. Two ways, okay? The first way is they bring the life that they've already created on the spheres that surround Salvington. Part of the spheres that surround Salvington is the laboratories where they create all sorts of life. And we're talking about millions of different types of life, okay? We are a 10th planet, which makes us a life experiment planet, okay? So every 10 planets in any universe, both a system and a universe, they can manipulate the chromosomes, the DNA, slightly to change the beings and the plants and animals on those decimal planets only. All the rest of the planets of a local universe have a set standard that they use to create all the life, even though the life is going to be different on each and every planet, okay? But they have a set formula they use to do that, okay? But since we're a life experiment planet, they're allowed a little bit more leeway. Now, the other way that life starts on a planet, besides them bringing the life plasm from the satellites to the planet, they can come to the planet with a plan, all right? And this plan would be from whom? The unrevealed architects of the master universe, or I'm sorry, the architects of being. Okay, so they come to a planet with a plan and they use the material that's already on the planet, the DNA, the chromosomes, all the thing that's already here to create all life. And that is exactly what happened where? Right here on Urantia.
But Roger, DNA wasn't here.
But it was. When all the molecules and everything that makes up life, Rodney, is already in the material atmosphere of every planet, okay? It's all out there as molecules. So what they do is they come in, manipulate the molecules, tweak the DNA, and there are 12 different formulations of chromosomes that they can use, 12, 24, 48. We'll see the whole list in this paper. So there's 12 different ways they can manipulate this. And our planet, it happened to be 48. That's why we have chromosomes the way we do. Okay, the pairs. All right. So they come to the planet, they go from the plans of the architects of beings, and they manipulate it and they create what we would call a soup. Okay, and this soup, or whatever you want to call it, this life implantation gunk, they put it all together and then they go to the oceans of a world and implant it in the shallow waters at 3 different locations. Okay, which is what happened on this planet. So what the life carriers do after they've implanted this, we have 100 senior life carriers and 100 associate life carriers that's in charge of this, and they have 1,000 basically younger ones or associates that help them out, that stay on the planet until life gets going. Make sense? Go ahead, Rodney.
The comment, or maybe question I have, number one, if they transport life, it has to be in a material vessel.
A physical vessel. Yeah, physical vessel. Now, it couldn't be in a guardian angel, could it? Why couldn't it be in a, it can't be in a guardian angel, why? Think about this.
They're not physical.
Guardian angels are not physical. Anything physical within a guardian angel because they move at such horrendous speeds will burn up in the atmosphere. Makes
So-
sense? So they
But it-
can't bring it by angel transport, right?
But it's the same as the tree of life.
That's right. Exactly the same thing. So how'd it get here, Rodney?
Well, even if they made it on this planet and they took it, it would have to be physical, I would
Well,
think. I mean,
no, if they made it on
Midway-
this planet, it didn't require anything physical. But there's many, many planets where it is transported in. So if that's the case, what do you think how do you think it gets here?
well, they must have ships, but
Ships, UFOs,
Did-
whatever you want to call them,
maybe
right?
explain or midway
You
or
know, railroad or something like that.
Huh? It's a
Or-
good question. I
life
can't.
carriers and midway are similar.
Uh, Similar, yet, but not exactly, Rodney, because life carriers are local universe sons of God. Okay, so they're semi-physical beings. They're the next being up from physical. The reason they have to be that way is they have to be able to manipulate physical matter,
Exactly.
right? Midwayers are not Urantia beings, are they?
Right.
They're not.
No,
Midwayers are not finite beings, are they?
no.
What are they then? They're midway between the two. Why do you think they call them midwayers?
It's semi? I don't know.
They're in between Urantia and in between physical.
So life carriers are spiritual, but
Well, they're not spiritual. I wouldn't call them spiritual beings because none of the local universe sons of God are spiritual beings. Are they?
exactly.
Yeah, they're more a physical or Urantial type being, right? They're above us, but they're not spirits, right? Why are they not spirits? Because if they were spirits, they would domicile outside the local universe. They would be first stage spirits, so they would domicile in the minor sectors upward, right?
Hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So since they're not domiciling in the spirit world, they have to be less than spirit, more on the Urantial scale or a physical scale. We call them local universe sons of God, but they're sort of a semi-physical local universe son of God, more on a Urantial scale than a finite scale, right? Makes
Yeah.
sense? Okay, now, since we mentioned it, I'm not going to get very far going this slow, but since we mentioned it, think of this way. Caligastas 100, remember them? They came down with Caligastia, right? The Calagasta come with 100, and after the rebellion, they started multiplying and creating the midwayers, right? So think of it this way. The Calagasta 100 were given physical bodies, just like when Melchizedek came to earth, he was given a physical body, right?
Yep.
Or if a Melchizedek comes down for a bestowal, he's given what? A physical body, correct? We still with me?
Yes.
So the Calagasta 100 were given physical bodies created from volunteers of beings in the garden. So they took their DNA, their sperm, their eggs, and created bodies for the Calagasta 100, correct? Okay. Why am I going to all this trouble? Because when they started creating or reproducing the midwayers were created outside the sight range of normal humans. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Normal humans couldn't see the midwayers. The midwayers could make themselves visible, but they, on normal, when they were born, they could not see them. Only the parents and the 100 could see them. Now, why could the parents and the 100 see them? You ever thought of that?
Well, the parents
they
had
were-
to use the diaper.
Because the parents were already on a Urantia level. They had earned Urantia space. So earning Urantia space, they had what? Extended sight,
Right.
right? So when they came to Earth, they could not take away what? Their extended sight. So since they had extended sight, they could see who? They could see Caligastia, they could see the angels, they could see their own children, the midwayers. They could see all these upper level beings because they earned the space of being a Urantia being. Make sense?
Now, these parents were individuals from Earth that,
No, they were from all planets all over our local universe.
okay,
I think there was, if I don't quote me, but I think there was one person in the 100 that came from Earth. Okay,
So Roger,
but the rest of them all came from other planets. Yeah,
for them to create a physical body for the Caligastia 100 and as well as Melchizedek,
right.
wouldn't they need a physical laboratory here?
Yes, yeah. That's where who came in? The surgeons of
Avalor.
Avalon, right? Right?
So did you ever
Remember
see that movie Avatar?
Yeah, yeah.
It would be similar.
It would be similar to that. That's right. It really would be. The difference is they're implanted in these bodies and they stay in these bodies until they're ready to leave. And then when they go for the angelic transport, the angels dematerializes them and takes their soul, right? That's how they can transport them. They can't transport them in the bodies. They have to just take the souls. So when they wake up back on the mansion worlds, they will have what? Their original Urantia body they had before. Make sense? That's a lot to take in. The reason I went into all this difficulty on this is because if you understand this, how the physical or the Urantia being and the physical being and that which makes us finite is set different levels, right? And the reason I'm going into this later in this paper, we're going to talk about the adjutant mind spirits, okay? And to understand how the adjutant mind spirits are circuits, they're not beings, they're circuits, right? To understand that, you have to understand how mind has to be superimposed on a physical body, okay? Mind has to be superimposed on a Urantia body.
Right.
Still with me? So that means mind has to be superimposed on a spiritual being, right?
Correct.
So the mind is separate from the finite existence body, right?
Exactly.
So who you are is not this body, is it?
Right.
Your mind makes part of who you are along with your soul. And those two are superimposed on your physical essence.
And your
Okay?
personality.
And your personality, right?
so we're made up of mind, soul, personality.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is our shell.
And this is our shell, right?
Bottom shell.
Right.
So
So
guys,
now
are three super glued together?
super glued together. But understanding that, okay? Understanding that, we can step back into this paragraph, okay? It says here, they are entrusted and with designing, carrying life to the planet spheres. What does that mean? That means they carry the physical essence to make up every type of finite being, tree, animal, bees, bugs, everything you can possibly imagine is what? Finite. It's material, right? But that doesn't make it life, does it? What makes it life? The spark of life. The spark of life that comes from the local universe mother spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's through that spark of life that the mind circuit can intertwine with the finite. Without that spark of life, you can say you're a living being all you want to, but you're not a real being, are you? You're a mass of cells, massive electrons, massive things walking around. That's why, what do you think I keep telling y'all? Computers and robots are not sanctioned beings. They're programmed. They're just programs. They're material entities without a soul, without a spark of life, and they will never get a spark of life. And that's exactly why we don't need to be sticking artificial intelligence in our brains, in our bodies, all this other stuff, right? We don't have to live that long. You know, we got a certain amount of days, and when those days are gone, we get gray-headed and we die. Yeah, sooner or later, it's going to happen. Or like me, you lose it. Well, you know, Gary's about as bad as I am. So, and I see Letch has got a little big forehead there too. So,
You all can't see it, but I'm actually gray.
yeah. Well, I got some gray here too. It doesn't show up very much, but you can see how the life carriers bring the physical being, the physical life. The mother spirit adds the spark, and that's how everything starts on the planet. Without that spark of life, you could put all this material together all you want to, but it doesn't mean a thing. Now, think of it this way. The spark of life not only starts human beings, does it? It starts all the plants, all the animals, all these other things. It makes the difference between a plant and an animal. It makes the difference between an animal and a human, because depending on how many adjutant mind spirits you have, depends on whether you go on, right? Okay, now I have beat this pretty much to death, have I not? I think.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So y'all have the overview of the first paragraph, and we almost used up all of our time. No, I'm joking.
That was a paragraph. I didn't know I read that much.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yes. 1. Origin and nature of life carriers. Though the life carriers belong to the family of divine sonship, they are a peculiar and distinct type of universe sons, being the only group of intelligent life in a local universe in whose creation the rulers of a super universe participate. The life carriers are the offspring of 3 pre-existent personalities: the Creator Son, the Universe Mother Spirit, and, by designation, one of the 3 Ancients of Days, presiding over the destinies of the super universe concerned. These ancients of days, who alone can decree the extinction of intelligent life, participate in the creation of the life carriers, who are entrusted with establishing physical life on the evolving worlds.
Okay, so since the creative mother spirit, the creator son is involved with this, there also is involved God the sevenfold. Who is included in God the sevenfold? The ancients of days, right? Yeah, so God the sevenfold is involved in creating all life for everything in the universe. Makes sense? But they only do this with the life carriers. They don't do it with the Melchizedeks, the Verandadeks, or the Lanadondeks, right? Because it's not necessary. They don't create life. Now, there's an exception to that, and that is what? A Melchizedek that is involved in populating a Absonite world. Okay, in that case, then the ancients of days are also involved also. Okay, because it comes down through God the sevenfold. Okay, so the ancient of days are the ones that determine what? Extinction of life. They are the judgment arm of the universe, right? So they will determine whether we will survive, really. Okay, and they are the ones who determine who is entrusted with the establishment of life on each of the evolving worlds. And only an ancient of days can make that decision. That's what's important here. Okay, so it has to have one of the three ancients of days, the ones assigned to this local universe, to create life for the life carriers to be created and create life. All right. All right, let's go on. Jane, would you take the next one?
Okay. In the universe of Nebadon, we have on record the creation of 100 million life carriers. This efficient core of life disseminators is not a truly self-governing group. They are directed by the life-determining trio, consisting of Gabriel, the father Melchizedek, and Nambia, the original and firstborn life carrier of Nebadon. But in all phases of their divisional administration, they are self-governing.
Okay, so we have 100 million life carriers, 100 million. Remember, there's 10 million planets. So that's plenty of life carriers to populate 10 million planets, right? And they are directed, basically, the executive branch of the life carriers is Gabriel, Father Melchizedek, and Nambia, and they make the decisions of the governing body of the life carriers themselves, right? So that's how they're controlled. All right, I got a few pictures here for y'all. So this is a picture of the Ancients of Days, the local universe mother spirit, and the creator son, and the firstborn life carrier from those three was named Nambia. Okay, and so Nambia became the executive head of the life carriers. Okay. All right. This next picture shows basically the government of who controls everything, which is Father Melchizedek, Nambia, and Gabriel. And they control all the life carriers themselves. Now, let's go on to the next one. Pam, would you take the next one?
Life carriers are graded into three grand divisions. The first division is the senior life carriers, the second, assistants, and the third, custodians. The primary division is subdivided into 12 groups of specialists in the various forms of life manifestation. The segregation of these three divisions was effected by the Melchizedeks, who conducted tests for such purposes on the life carriers' headquarters spheres. The Melchizedeks have ever since been closely associated with the life carriers and always accompany them when they go forth to establish life on a new planet.
Okay, so just like Melchizedek's, the life carriers are trained on the Melchizedek worlds, right? And they test them just like they do the Melchizedeks and just like they do the Lananondek sons, right? And just like the Lananondek sons, the highest in the class gets put in the first division, or the senior life carriers. The second best in the class become the assistants, right? And then the lowest part of the class becomes the custodians. And they always stay in that position, just like the Lananondek sons. Okay, which is important to know. The other thing I want to point out in this paragraph is that they mention here the 12 groups of specialists. Why do you think there are 12 groups of specialists?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Okay, think of it this way. Everything in the local universe is set up in 12s, okay? Our DNA, everything that, you know, the chromosomes, everything is in sets of 12, 12, 24, 48, multiples of 12. So this 12 divisions start with the primary 12, okay? And everything that comes after that is a multiplication of that first primary 12. Okay, and we're going to see this a little bit farther down in the paper. Okay, so that's why there's 12 divisions divided, or the primary division is subdivided in 12 groups of specialists, one for each of the 12 types of DNA, RNA, what do you want to call it, right? All right. And this shows the grading of the assistants, just like in the Lananondeks. Okay. Letch, would you take the next one, please?
Yeah. When an evolutionary planet is finally settled in light and life, the life carriers are organized into the higher deliberative bodies of advisory capacity to assist in the further administration and development of the world and its glorified beings. In the later and settled ages of an evolving universe, these life carriers are entrusted with many new duties.
Okay, so look at it this way. The life carrier stays with the planet from the time life is implanted all the way to the point where we reach light and life, right? So when we reach light and life, all of this experience the life carriers had in monitoring the human existence or life developing evolutionary wise over a long period of time. They have all that experience, so they become part of the administration or the advisory council for the worlds after they reach light and life. So it uses their experience as administrators at that point, right? So it gives them something to look forward to, right? Okay, section number 2, the life carrier worlds. Gary, would you take that and I guess go ahead and go through the full 7 of the list.
Okay. The Melchizedeks have the general oversight of the 4th group of 7 primary spheres in the Salvington circuit. These worlds of the life carriers are designated as follows. 1, the life carrier headquarters. 2, the life planning sphere. 3, the life conservation sphere. 4, the sphere of life evolution. 5, the sphere of life with mind, the sphere of mind and spirit in living beings, and gonna hold on. And 7, the sphere of unrevealed life.
Okay, so just like the Lananondek worlds, the Melchizedek worlds, the Verandavek worlds, the life carriers have their group of worlds that go around Salvington. They're part of the 490 worlds. So this is what these main spheres, the main 7 spheres, are doing that surround Salvington. And of course, each one of these has 6 satellites also that work along the same processes. All right, I'll read that one sentence and then we'll come back and let Rodney read the next one. Each of these primary spheres is surrounded by 6 satellites on which the special phases of all life carrier activities are in the universe are centered. Okay. Let me see if there's anything I want to mention on this list up here before we go on.
How about the sphere of unrevealed life?
Yeah, that's the one they don't tell, but that's probably the Absonite worlds, right? More than likely.
And one, the life conservation sphere keeps us from getting blown up by our own stupidity.
Hopefully so. And here's the sphere of life associated with mind. You know, this is they have to learn how mind and the finite being is totally separate, right? And then they have the sphere of mind and spirit in living beings, right? So they have to plug it all in, basically. Okay, so let's go on to world number 1. Rodney, would you take world number 1?
Oh, yes, of course. World number 1, the headquarters sphere, together with its 6 tributary satellites, is devoted to the study of universal life, life in all of its known phases of manifestation. Here is located the College of Life Planning, wherein function teachers and advisors from Uversa and Havana, and even from Paradise. And I am permitted to reveal that the 7 central emplacements of the adjutant mind spirits are situated on this world of the life carriers.
Okay, so on this, what were you going to say, Rodney? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So the mother spirit has something to do with this world.
That's exactly right, Rodney, because like since the adjutant mind spirits are circuits, it basically starts on this sphere and goes out as a circuit to all the planets, right? Okay, all 7 adjutant mind spirits. All right, another interesting thing about world number 1 is it's the study of all types of life, not just one, right? And all of its types of manifestations. So if we got 10 million planets and we have 10 million different manifestations of life, of humans on those planets, this is where they study that and plan it, right? Also, it's got teachers from Uversa, Havana, and even from Paradise. Remember when we studied Paradise before, it talked about how all life in all 7 super universes is basically a mirror reflection of beings in Paradise. So every type of being we will find in a local universe has a sister being that lives in Paradise. So there's no being that's on any of the local universes that there's not some kind of copy or similar being that originates on Paradise. So of course they have advisors from Paradise, from Uversa, and from Havana, right? Because we're all made after those, right? And we're going to come back to the 7 adjutant mind spirits in a little bit when we get further down there, probably not tonight. All right. Jane, would you take the next one?
Okay, the number 10, the decimal system, is inherent in the physical universe, but not in the spiritual. The domain of life is characterized by 3, 7, and 12, or by multiples and combinations of these basic numbers. There are 3 primal and essential different life plans after the order of the 3 paradise sources and centers. And in the universe of Nebadon, these 3 basic forms of life are segregated on 3 different types of planets. There were originally 12 distinct and divine concepts of transmissible life. This number 12, with its subdivisions and multiples, runs throughout all basic life patterns of all 7 super universes. There are also 7 architectural types of life design, fundamental arrangements of the reproducing configurations of living matter. The Orphanton life patterns are configured as 12 inheritance carriers. The differing orders of will creatures are configured as 12, 24, 48, 96, 193, 92, 384, and 768. On Urantia, there are 48 units of pattern control, trait determiners in these sex cells of human reproduction.
So
Wow,
that's
that's
why
amazing.
isn't that amazing?
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about these numbers because some of this stuff is just fascinating. The decimal system first is, you remember when we studied the basically the formation of all the universes. For instance, everything is in tens, like for instance, the major, the 10 sections of, oh, help me, Rodney, of the local universe, you know, the major the major sections. And then you got everything is multiple of 10. So if you got 100 local systems, that would be well, there's 1,000 or 10,000, 100,000 local systems, and then it would be multiples of that is how many planets, and multiple. It's always 10 if you look at the scale. It goes from one to another. Now that is the case in the 7 super universes, right? On the local universe level, but that is not the case in the spiritual level, which is interesting. So that means when you get to Havona, you won't see that multiples of 10 any longer. Makes sense? Okay. But
It'll be 12.
It'll probably be 12, right? Because everything else is built around. Now, before I get her off of that, we're going to talk about 3, 7, and 12 up here at the top, right? Everything spiritual is in multiples of 3, 7, and 12. Why would it be 3, 7, and 12? Think of it this way. 3 is what? God the Father, God the Son, and the infinite Spirit, right? 7 would be what? The seven master spirits, the combination of the 3, right?
And the 7 folds?
And the 7 folds. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, 12 is the original plan of basically configurations allowed for all the 7 super universes. Okay, so there's 12 separate configurations that the creator sons can use, and in that multiple of 12, it comes every type of life in each of the local universes. So, for instance, what's he talking about? On some planets, instead of having 48 sex chromosomes, right, they probably have 12. On another planet, they'd have 24. On another planet, they got 96. On another planet, they have trait patterns up to 192 or 384. I bet those are some strange looking people, because their patterns are so varied, right? And then it goes up to 768. Now, what is this? This is a multiple of itself all the way across. So it takes 12, it multiplies itself, then it multiplies itself again, it multiplies itself again, and then multiplies itself again. Now, all of these are trait determiners for every single planet that's out there. Make sense?
Mhm.
And it all comes from that basic 12 pattern. Now,
One
I'm gonna
is
tell y'all,
two.
what?
Is multiplied by 2,
Every
Well-
one of them just doubles.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm gonna bring something up here that I bet y'all didn't know anything about. If you go out to YouTube, look up Tesla and 3, 6, and 9.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Tesla claimed that the secrets of the universe is patterned after 3, 6, and 9. And he was not totally incorrect. The pattern was after 3. But if you watch his video, or watch the video about this, it really is fascinating. You can see how the multiple of 3 happens in these 3 numbers, and it stays the same over and over and over and over again. And it's even the physical pattern of, I was trying to think of the fish, and I can't think of the name of it. But it's a
Pisces?
physical, huh?
Pisces?
Yeah, Pisces. Yeah, the
Pisces.
pattern of Pisces. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's 3, 6, and 9. Everything in the physical universe is surrounded by this 3, 6, and 9 combinations. And with the 3, 6, and 9, architecturally, you can build any type of physical structure and it will be stable always. Isn't that interesting? So you can go out as a side note and go look it up. It's under Tesla 3, 6, and 9. And there's about 24 videos on it out there. You can get into it as deep as you want. But I recommend it just for fascination, if nothing else. But all the trait determiners in our local universe comes from this combination of 12, right? And the combination of 12, guess where it comes from? 3. Okay. That's what's really interesting about this. So Tesla wasn't far off when it comes right down to it.
Well,
Okay.
Buckminster Fuller came up with the triangle, which he uses in the geodesic dome. And his
Yes.
thought was that the triangle is the strongest element in the universe. And he was right, because it's got
Yeah.
3s.
Yeah. 3, 6, and 9. That's where the triangle comes from, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting too that is also where the architecture comes from for what? The pyramids, isn't it?
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It is. Stable thing. Yeah, Gary.
Could Tesla be a transplant to upgrade us? Because he was so far beyond us.
No, he was just lucky to get a wonderful genius mind,
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally a fluke happens and someone gets a mind that's just beyond anything we could imagine. Most of us use, what is it, about 10% of our mind, and Tesla was probably using about 25, 30% of his, and it would be interesting if we all could function at that level, all the problems we could solve, right? I
Mhm.
mean, really, if you think about it. But as far as geniuses go, I'd say that Tesla was a genius 10 times over what Einstein was. I really do. So, yeah.
How does Biden compare? You're my-
Are you talking about a negative scale? Right. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. Anyway. He probably had a good in mind at one time. It's just gone, you know? That's all there's to. We all have that to look forward to, right? Hopefully not. Maybe we'll check out before then. I don't know. Okay. I was talking to my wife. Yeah, I'm sorry Diane's not here. She wasn't feeling well tonight. She's sleeping. I was talking to her. We ran into somebody in the grocery store today when we were getting her medications, and I was telling him, I said, Tim asked the question a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about Melchizedek mating with Eve. And today, when I was studying that, guess what I found?
Yeah.
I found exactly what he was talking about. And I remember it now, but when he asked about it, it was gone.
So did that happen, Roger?
Well, we're going to find out on the later on in this paper. In the Melchizedek worlds, they take a voluntary Melchizedek and a voluntary Eve, and the Melchizedek is the life carrier for the Absonite worlds. Okay, they
Oh,
only use one, and so the Melchizedek and Eve is assigned together, and they mate on the Absonite world, and their children become the population of the Absonite worlds. Now, the interesting part is this: once they, I think, get 1,000 children or something like that, they're done, and then the children, you know, recreate from there. But the Absonite beings are not considered finite beings. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
they
And they're
don't die.
not, they don't die, but they're not considered immortal either. Now, how that works, you got me.
But they're not midwayers.
They're not midwayers. No, they're not midwayers.
Must
So,
Do they always stay in the same, do they go to paradise, or do they stay where
no,
they're
they go
created?
to the finaliter worlds, or excuse me, around Salvington.
Okay.
So all these Absoniters that are being created, and there's not very many of the worlds. We're going to get into that, how many's in each local universe. But the Absonite worlds, when they don't die like we do. They have to be translated. So when they're ready to go after 1,000 years, I think it is, when they're ready to be translated, they're translated and taken by guardian seraphim to the finaliter world, where they go on from there. But they don't give us a lot of information what happens on the finaliter world or what their future is. Now, a lot of people in the Urantia organization believe that they will be the beings that help populate the outer space levels. So that may be the case, may not, but the fact that they're on the finaliter worlds makes you wonder if that might not be the case, right? Yeah, Gary.
For some reason, I've got the impression that there's basically 12 variations of
Life.
spirit dwelling individuals.
Right.
So basically, if we see these UFOs and their inhabitants, there's basically 12 different beings.
There could be, Gary.
I mean,
It's
it's-
anybody's guess. You might be right. It could be, could very well be. They could be one of the 12 too. I mean, you know, who's to say? One thing's for sure, there's something about this planet that's awful interesting, because the sightings of UFOs and things like that's increasing and increasing and increasing, you know, so and it may just be because we're the planet of the cross too.
well, we're a tourist attraction.
We're tourist attraction. That's right. That's right. They might want to come down and see what kind of monkeys crucified its own God. You know,
Yeah.
Really, if you think about it, you know, it's pretty stupid what we did.
Well,
It's,
I had mentioned once, it's like going to the prison to look at the prisoners.
Yeah,
look at idiots, you know?
yeah. Well, it's like I always say, this is my favorite saying, if you're ignorant of something, you can be enlightened, right? But if you're plain downright stupid, you can't fix stupid, right? You can be enlightened, but you can't be stupid. So anyway, well, listen, y'all, we're 6:56, so I guess we ought to knock it off there for tonight, and we'll take up the second world on Tuesday. Okay. So let's have a little prayer and we'll quit for tonight. Let's see. Rodney, would you like to close us tonight?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we give thanks for the opportunity that we've had this evening to study this revelation, the Urantia book, and especially this paper we're on, the local universe sons of God and the life carriers this evening. We thank Roger for his ability to further go into detail as we read, so that we can better understand this, and hopefully so we can understand it enough that we will be able to share it with friends and family, for its very good knowledge. And we say all this in the name of Jesus, Michael of Nebaton. Amen.
Amen. And
Amen.
thank you all for joining us at home. We thank you for coming to see us. And let me stop the live screen. And yes.